What's up, everybody? We are back. We took a week off because I almost died, but we're back. We've got a lot to talk about. I really just want to get straight into it because Billy, I'm here with Billy Derrick as always. Billy, we were talking just a second ago off off air, and there's some fun stuff that is going to be discussed this show.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot going on in college football, and the biggest story is, well, I guess it's not really off the field. It's a lot of this is happening on the field, but it's doesn't involve any of the games this year. It involves games last year, and of course somehow Tennessee got roped into it. So Tennessee fans have found a way to wiggle their way into this mess. But no, man, I don't want it to take away from the good college football we get to see every weekend. Hopefully it doesn't this weekend. Michigan isn't even playing this weekend. So, but yeah, man, there's a lot going on and some interesting opinions. I'm sure will be thrown out there.
This might be our first like controversy covered on the KOT podcast. I know we've had some healthy debates in our pick'ems, but this is our kind of first like, this is happening and obviously there's two sides to both stories and there's two sides that people are taking. So we get into that today or tonight, I should say. It's nighttime as we are recording this. Billy, like I said, I was dead last week, so college football, it was watched obviously, and it was taken with a big grain of salt because one of our teams, my team, kind of sh shit the bed for lack of a better term. So we'll talk about that as well. But I just want to jump straight into it with our segment that we lead off this show with every episode during our football season. Like I said, I'm gonna give the full intro to this because we took a week off. So back in the day when Billy and I were both growing up, there was a segment on college football final that everyone loved called helmet stickers, and that's where we give our helmet stickers to top performers, whether that be a team, whether that be a player. Usually we have two. It's rare that we have more than that, just because sometimes there's not a lot going on in the world. Nobody dominates every week. We would love to see that, but Billy, I'm gonna let you take the ball with your helmet stickers, and just give us the recap of Week 8 and what we saw from college football.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Ohio State against Penn State. You know, there was a lot of talk heading into that one that this could be the year Penn State gets them, but it was in the shoe and Marvin Harrison, man. I mean, he won that game. He put the Buckeyes on his back, and they won the game. I didn't even think Kyle McCord was that good in that game, but it kind of helps when you've got Marvin Harrison to throw to. And you look at Ohio State now, Chase. They've got the two best wins of the season. They beat Notre Dame 17-14 in South Bend, and then they beat Penn State over the weekend. And, while all the grumbling continues about their offense, that, it's sort of hit and miss. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. is that dude. I mean, he had an incredible day. 11 catches, 162 yards. Their running game still needs to be better. I don't really see much out of that running game. TreVeyon Henderson is still hurt, and they won that game without Emeka Ibuka and Henderson at running back. So, but Chase, they're a different type of team. They're not. I think they're more physical. We joked about Lou Holtz criticizing Ohio State before the Notre Dame game, and Ryan Day came out after the game and responded with some comments of his own. But I think he's right about this team. I think they're a physical team. They've got a really good defense. They're third nationally in scoring. They're only allowing 10 points per game. Now, I know they outside of Notre Dame and now Penn State, they haven't played the toughest schedule. But I think that Maryland, I think, is a pretty good team. So it's not like they've played a bunch of slouches. JT Tuimoloau is a freak. So I was really impressed with Ohio State on Saturday against Penn State. Probably at the end of the day, more disappointed in Penn State and James Franklin. They can't get over that hump. But I'm going to go Ohio State, my first helmet sticker there. Um, and if we had negative helmet stickers, I'd probably give one to Penn State, take the stickers off. But next, Jason, you're probably surprised I'm going here. And again, take helmet sticker off, UNC. But I'm putting a helmet sticker on the Virginia Cavaliers. My goodness, man. I mean, it is, I couldn't believe what they were able to do. I mean, their last, really, the past year for Virginia, you saw the three players shot and killed last November, which was just awful situation. They start the season against Tennessee and Nashville, just get bludgeoned. They lose to James Madison. Everybody's like, what is this team doing in the ACC? I mean, they're awful, one of the worst teams in the country, but they never gave up. And I think they're playing for those three guys. And they played inspired against North Carolina. I mean, Chase, they started the season 0-5, but they go out to Chapel Hill and upset number 10 North Carolina. That was their first win on the road against a top 10 opponent in school history. It doesn't get any easier though for Virginia. They go to Miami on Saturday. They've also got to play Louisville and Duke. So I don't know if they get another one, but they got a good running back, Mike Hollins, who you saw him against Tennessee. Their quarterback is a guy that transferred over from Monmouth, who I don't think is all that awful. I mean, I think what's his name, Tony Muskett is actually
Tommy Muskett, which is a top 5 name in football.
Yeah, I mean he's serviceable. I don't think he's been awful. I mean they've only won 2 games, but Chase, I was just really impressed. They deserve one, and again they may not win another one, but I just think they took advantage of North Carolina really sleeping through that game. Hated it for Mack Brown and that program, but loved it for Virginia. Tony Elliott, they've been through so much, and maybe this catapults them into some better days. Maybe not right away this year, but heading into next year, I think that's a good sign for them. So helmet stickers, I'm going to go Buckeyes of Ohio State with their win over Penn State, and then I'll go Virginia. Late Saturday night, I didn't even watch it. I checked the score, and then I think I watched the tail end of it. And I saw them win that. I couldn't believe it. So I had to give Tony Elliott and the Cavaliers a helmet sticker as well.
I watched the end of that game playing beer pong, water pong, however you want to describe it. I had it like a little lawn chair pulled up on my phone, just kind of peeking, throwing. Yeah, that was a wild game. And I like Mack Brown a lot, and I feel for Mack Brown because I know that there's no way he has that many more years left. And I like Drake May a lot too. Hopefully future Tennessee Titan, Marvin Harrison, hopefully another future Tennessee Titan coming up, which we talked a little bit about that before we got on here. But I'm gonna give my helmet sticker, my first helmet sticker. This is a guy, they call him the pig farmer. Grew up on a farm. We talked about this earlier in the season during our pick'ems. Good old Bryson Barnes, quarterback for the Utah Utes in a big win against the USC Trojans, and the kid put on, I mean, 1,500 pigs, and USC couldn't stop the kid. Nobody could stop him. He was making bacon on the field this past Saturday. 14-23, 235, 3 tutties and a pick. Also 10 carries, 57 yards, and a tutty on the ground. And I know they got the ball late with probably USC scored to go up by 1 point, failed to get the 2-point conversion. There was a play, it was 3rd down and 9, and Barnes just took off up the edge for like 25 yards to get the boys in field goal range. And it was just a gutsy run. And I know we talk about USC's defense being Swiss cheese, but still, that's a big spot for the backup. Like, I know we keep saying, hey, Cam Rising is going to play. We've been saying that for like 4 weeks now, and he hasn't played. So this team, Utah, is still really good. I have them ranked 7th in my top 10, which we can get into our top 10s in just a second. But I like this team a lot. The only loss that so far this year is to a really good Oregon State team. So I like Utah a lot, and I like what they're doing, and I think it was a big win. 6.5 point dogs. Uh, was it? It was on the road. Yeah, it was on the road in Southern California. So big win for them, and I like what they're doing. My second helmet sticker, Tennessee, Alabama. Um, it was not a fun game. The fun first half, but my second helmet sticker goes to the referees. In the Tennessee. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm gonna go with my second helmet sticker, Virginia as well. Tony Elliott getting a big win. Tommy Muskett. Muskett was hurt against NC State, and they have a true freshman, Alex Cassandra. Yeah, Alex Cassandra. He's the most true freshman quarterback you'll ever see in your life. Kid just runs around, throws the ball, basically looks like Johnny Football on the backfield running around. He cost the team that game when he was flexing. I don't think that Virginia team's all that bad. I saw them, like you mentioned, against Tennessee and Nashville. Tragedy last year. It tore me up a lot. We had conversations about that last year when it all happened. So good to see them get this big of a win. And like I said, I feel bad for Mac Brown. I like Mac Brown. He's everyone's favorite granddad. Him and Nick Saban both. Even though we don't appreciate Alabama here, we like Nick Saban. We appreciate him. He is what it is what it is. But yeah, Virginia and the pig farmer himself, Bryson Barnes, are my helmet stickers. For week 8. Well, speaking of top 10, Billy, you sent me your top 10 the other day. Got the graphics posted out. If you want to check out both of our top 10s, you can follow us on Twitter at the Kings of TN Pod on Twitter. We post our episodes there. We post our pick'ems there. Post our top 10s there. And it's just the best way to hear from us and to get to experience this show on another platform. So follow us there. We appreciate all the follows. And that's how you can stay the most up to date with both of us. But Billy, let me pull up our top 10s here. I want to let you lead off and give me a run with your top 10 to start us off here.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to go a lot. I mean, it's a whole lot different than last week. But at number 1, I got Ohio State. I was just so impressed with their win over Penn State. And so obviously I had them at 5, I think, last week. So I had them leaping 4 different teams. So I've got Ohio State number 1, Georgia at number 2. They stay at number 2. So obviously they did not play. They got Florida this weekend. Florida State, I had them jump over the previous number 3 Oklahoma. I did not like Oklahoma against UCF. I mean, UCF very well could have easily won that game. So Venables and Oklahoma just barely eked through that. Right in between those two teams, got Washington bumped back to number 4. Again, another team that just barely got out of their win. I think they played Arizona State, so they barely escaped that one. Oklahoma at 5, Michigan at number 6. They move up just 1 spot. Again, they played, but Michigan State's awful. I mean, Michigan hasn't played anybody, so all of a sudden they got to deal with everything going on with them. They got a bye though. They are 8-0. And then at 7, I got Texas. So I kind of flip-flopped Michigan and Texas. Texas escaped Houston. So there were a lot of close calls last week. Chase, Washington against Arizona State, Oklahoma against UCF, Michigan obviously dominated Michigan State. Texas barely got through Houston. I pushed Alabama up 1, so I have them at number 8 now. Oregon bumped them up a couple of spots. They were actually out of the top 10. So I threw Oregon and Oregon State in there. Oregon State's 6-1, and I mean, who would have thought they'd be in the top 10 at this point in the season? But Oregon right there, number 9. They beat Washington State last weekend. Oregon State had a bye, so they got some big games coming up, especially the Pac-12. But yeah, Ohio State, Georgia, Florida State, Washington, Oklahoma, top 5. And then rounding out with Michigan, Texas, Alabama, Oregon, and Oregon State. And, there's some big games this weekend, Chase. I think there's going to be some more movement. Georgia, of course, playing Florida. They got a chance, depending on how Ohio State looks, to jump Ohio State. Let's see here. Michigan, of course, has a bye. Alabama. Who does Alabama play? They don't have a bye, do they?
They do have a bye, I think.
They do. Okay. So yeah, actually, not a ton of big games in the top 10, but that's my top 10. Georgia stays at number 2. FSU moves up to number 3. Michigan leaps over Texas. So you got some small moves there, but nothing really too crazy.
I like the top 10 a lot. I think this is a very strong top 10. I love Oregon State, one of the ugly stepkids of the Pac-12 after they dissolved, and they've cracked Billy Derrick's top 10. And if they keep winning, they will crack the actual top 10. I know they're knocking on the door. What are they, 11th in the AP poll?
Which team?
Oregon State.
Oregon State. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I know they're right outside. So if they keep winning, they have a matchup with Oregon at the end of the year. You get to that, with one loss and you knock off Oregon, we might be looking at Oregon State causing some big ruckus on down the road.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold off on my top one because number one we will get into because there's a big discussion going on around that team. Number two, I have Georgia. I still not convinced. I know they beat the crap out of Georgia or Kentucky, but I'm just not all in yet on this team, especially with Brock Bowers' injury. I know there hasn't really been a timetable set for his return. Uh, with Florida this weekend, it'll be a big game. I don't think Florida's good enough this season to knock on that door, but so far Georgia really hasn't been challenged. They take a trip to Neyland in a couple weeks, so that's probably going to be the biggest challenge of the year, probably be the only challenge of the year. And so that'll be an interesting trip here in a couple weeks. I still like Washington at 3. I just think that team is loaded. I know their defense struggles, but what Pac-12 team's defense doesn't really, big win against Oregon a couple weeks ago. We didn't get to talk about that last week. So I still like Washington at 3. Ohio State is for me number 4, which I think they are 4 in the AP as well. 4th, no, I think they're 3 in the AP. I know they have 2 of the biggest wins. But the way I kind of look at it is you've beaten Notre Dame, who then took a loss to Louisville, and you just beat Penn State, which Penn State is a pretty good opponent, but James Franklin is also 1-10 against top 10 teams in his coaching career. Not, and that's not punishing them. They're still in my top 4, and they keep playing the way they're playing. They will absolutely be the number 1 team just because their schedule lines up with it. Oklahoma at 5. They have a rough spot against USF this week, but I think every college team is going to have that. Florida State at 6. Florida State's the team that nobody really talks about anymore, just because that schedule is not the greatest thing in the world, especially after Clemson has kind of fallen off. LSU kind of faltered a little bit too. That win doesn't look as big as it did early on in the year. Like I said, Utah at 7. I like the way they've been playing. The only losses to a really good team, and they're playing with a backup quarterback, and they don't really look like they've missed a beat. Oregon is my 8 team. They lost to Washington, but I think I'm still very high on that Oregon team. Very high on Bo Nix and how Dan Lanning coaches over there, even though he made some pretty curious decisions in that Washington game. Texas at number 9, Quinn Ewers is going to be out for a while. So that is a very fun story to watch over there in Austin. If they keep winning, they've got a rematch with Oklahoma coming in the Big 12 title game. So that will be fun. That'll cause a lot of movement on later in the season. And then, yeah, number 10, yeah, those scumbags, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Whatever. I don't want to talk about them. They're whatever. But they're a top 10 team. That team is kind of going back to old Alabama teams. That defense is really, really good. I still am not sold on Jalen Milroe, and I don't think I ever will because he still cannot throw a ball unless it's a 40-yard downfield pass. Anything other than that, good luck. Good luck even getting a reception out of that. But whatever. They're a top 10 team, and they got some challenges coming up as well. So we'll see how long that lasts. But my number one team, the most controversial team in all the land right now, off the field for sure. Uh, Michigan, the Michigan
Wow.
Wolverines. They've been my number one for 3 weeks. I know they really haven't played anybody, but I've seen Georgia not play anybody and struggle. I've seen Oklahoma not play anybody sometimes and struggle. Michigan, again, playing cupcakes. They're eating cupcakes. Michigan sits down at the table with their little glass of milk and their little camera recording whatever they want to record, and they sit there and they eat that cupcake. And it's not close. Then they're a physical football team. They're a smash mouth football team. JJ McCarthy is actually he jumped Michael Penix last week in the Heisman race,
Yeah.
so he's the new favorite. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't think McCarthy's a bad quarterback, but Penix has just been on fire. He hasn't lost a game. I know they struggled last week, but you can't take it away from Penix. But if you're a bettor and you want a live bet, then now's the best time to do it because you can get really good value on Michael Penix now. But Michigan is my number one, and it's time to get into the debate. Let me
Mm.
set this up. So let me find. So this is from Pete Thamel at ESPN, his Twitter page. This is just kind of his recap tweet yesterday. So assistant Connor Stallions. I'm gonna go Stallions because it sounds cooler. Bought tickets to 4 different campus games of 4 college football playoff contenders last season, and now they're saying that it's probably way more than 4, probably every Big Ten opponent. There's record of purchases of the SEC title game between 2021 and 2022. 12 of the 13 Big Ten schools have record of him buying tickets for them as well. Now, Michigan has come out and said recently that the conversation is Stallions used to be in the Marine Corps and that he bought these tickets for Marine vets. Um, so the investigation is very much ongoing. There's been a lot of chaotic talk. I think they've asked every coach in college football basically at this point what they think. I know they asked Dion. They've asked Matt Rule. I've seen both of their replies. Kirby Smart had something to say about it yesterday. And even Steve Sarkisian has also come out and spoke on the issue as well. I'm sure there will be more in the coming days. But Billy, what is your thoughts on this Michigan video scandal that has come to light really progressively as of late?
Listen, I think obviously this is perfectly legal in the NFL, right? I mean, the NFL teams do this, I mean, every week. But I really do think this stems, number one, from the NCAA's hatred of Jim Harbaugh and sort of how he runs his program, but also, and again, this is my opinion here, but with the way they've dominated Ohio State has power in college football. Michigan's just humiliated Ohio State and the rest of the conference. Chase, if Purdue was doing this, for example, right, or literally any other team, even like Mississippi State, right, Northwestern, right, if any of those lower tier teams was doing this, nobody would care. No, I mean, nobody would be talking about this. Also, they if they were winning, right, maybe a little bit more, but I mean, even if you're winning it in your low level program, no one's talking about that. So, let's settle this right here. A staffer, obviously, who bought tickets on SeatGeek and he used his phone in the third deck. I mean, that I just like that's what's changing everything. I mean, when they made this the rule in the 90s, they didn't do it because it was a big competitive advantage. They did it because it was unfair to have the have-nots, the teams that haven't done anything who couldn't afford a staffer, right? They did it trying to eliminate those cameras, those film crews. I mean, have you been to a football game in 2023? Right, everybody's got a phone, everybody's taping. You never know. I mean, Everyone's doing this. I mean, buying tickets on SeatGeek, sitting up in the third deck. This is not like this is something that is brand new and no one has ever done or ever heard about, right? So I'm supposed to be like bummed out for Michigan because of a shaky iPhone filming. I mean, I think it's overblown. Now, and I'll say this though too. All of this that has come out, it's a lot that's come out, right? I mean, we got all the proof we need, I think. But I think this is going on at a ton of other schools. I mean, think about before the NIL era when everybody's like, "Oh, these players need to get paid, right? They're not making any money." Bull crap. All these players were getting paid under the table before NIL. Similar situation, right? Now people are coming out saying, "Oh, this is illegal." And yeah, technically it's illegal. Okay, whatever. But the NCAA has been a spineless, toothless group ever since ever since the beginning. So, number one, I don't think really much of anything's going to happen. I think the worst case for Michigan is that Harbaugh leaves after this season. I don't think he's going to. Now, he might get suspended for a game or two, but hell, he's been suspended before and they've been perfectly fine. So, I think someone whistle blew, right? Whether that's someone involved with Ohio State, whether that's, I don't know, someone outside the program, whoever it was, they're attacking Michigan, basically. I will say though, if there's more to come out, like there's been a lot that's come out. If there's anything worse that comes out, and there might be, I might change my tune. But right now, I think this is going on, man. I just do. Maybe to different levels, but I think this type of sign stealing. I mean, everybody's sign stealing. Now, yes, I get the intent and the method behind it. Right. It's illegal. Okay, whatever. But everyone is doing some form of cheating in college football. And hell, in every sport, right? Now, it's another thing if you get caught, right? You got all this proof. I get that. So there's still so much to find out. My tune might be changed a little bit by the end of the season if a lot worse things come out about this, but I really don't. I mean, I'm not freaking out about it. So, Ohio State fans are. I know that. I mean, they're saying fire the guy. We want to beat Michigan. But I think it's kind of funny, if anything. I mean, it's college. It's so perfectly college football, but I'm not thinking too much about it. That's my thing.
Well, the big old debate that I thought we were gonna have is not gonna happen because we are
Oh,
completely on the same side here. I mentioned this. I had a discussion with one of the guys last night. I think everything you just said is completely correct. Even Steve Sarkisian said there's a reason we disguise some of our play calls because everybody does it. Everybody who is anybody does exactly what Michigan is doing. And if the whistleblower came from Ohio State, we know why, because they're tired of Harbaugh, because Harbaugh has had their number recently, and it's gonna continue to happen because I think Michigan plays a style that Ohio State cannot compete against. And Ryan Day is not a very good coach, in my opinion, and Harbaugh runs circles around him. So that's my little rant on Ohio State. If the whistleblower came from Ohio State, it's because they can't beat them and they're trying their hardest to throw the book at them. So they ran and told mommy that Big Brother at this point now is playing tricks on us, and it is what it is. The NCAA, the biggest clown show organization on planet Earth. You look at some of the
amen.
things that were happening this year. Look at Tez Walker. It took Tez Walker 3 weeks to get on the field because you would not let the kid play football, and the kid's tearing it up now. But if Jim Harbaugh buys a cheeseburger for a player, oh, well, we can't allow that here in our organization. Whoever is running that, I don't know the name. Go away. Go very far away from the sport, from every sport that you touch. Go far away and never come back. Please. because all you do, you want to preach to the world that you're in it for good and you're in it for kids, but you don't show that because the only thing that ever comes out of the NCAA is bad things. They're a witch hunt organization and they're a witch hunt community, and for some reason they do not like how Jim Harbaugh operates, and they are trying everything. And he got suspended earlier in the season. The cheeseburger thing from the offseason, they're literally trying to get this man out of college football.
Yeah.
And it's sickening and it's disgraceful because I don't want to hear anymore that, oh, well, this kid can't play because of a transfer rule, or free agency is a thing now in college football. It's a thing. So you can't punish people for wanting to make multiple moves in a season. That's done. That's out of the conversation at this point. And now we want to talk about something that everybody does and that everybody is known to do. Clemson has been knowing to do it for the last couple of years. I saw that going around last night. I cannot confirm nor deny that because I do not know. But if they did, they did. Who cares? It's not that big of a game changer. And Deion Sanders, they asked him about it. He said, "You can hand me the playbook. I still don't think I can stop them." Aaron Rodgers said that anybody can know what my playbook is. They still have to execute and stop me. This does not. This is not. It's not an advantage to where it cripples their opponent. It's not. It's just not. You know what cripples an opponent is me going behind somebody's back and say, "Hey kid, I know you like your school. I'll give you $8 million to leave that school and come play for me." But we don't want to talk about that. That's not interesting enough for the NCAA to care about because they're too stupid and too ignorant to put a cap on NIL. Well, we can't talk about that because Michigan is some dude from Michigan is 150 feet up in the air with his camcorder out, recording some guy going like this on the sideline.
Yeah.
It's
It's ridiculous. I mean,
it's
and the
stupid.
fact that it's all this fake outrage, right? I mean, the NCAA has these pawn writers like Wolken and guys like that where they basically pay, to say, hey, cover this up for us, be on our side basically. And that's why it gets circulated so much and then other people catch on. It's the same thing with John Gruden and, all that with Tennessee and Shiano, right? So we've seen this before, Chase, and I really hope this isn't how Harbaugh goes down, because that would be an absolute shame. But it might be. Who knows, right? But I don't want this to prevent them from potentially winning a national title because they're my pick to win it all right now. I know they're, I think I have them at number 6, but that doesn't matter right now. That's just how they played so far. But once they beat Ohio State, like we know they will, at the end of the year, I think it's in the big house this year, right?
It is.
So, I mean, it's overblown. And again, I don't want this to affect Michigan's path. That's probably what the NCAA wants. That's probably what the Ohio State people want as well. So it's awful, Chase. And it feels like something like this happens every year. And they kind of, it's almost like they want to distract from the season, but college football just won't let it. It's too electric every weekend.
It's very frustrating because some of the things that I've been told and I've heard is the NCAA wants to completely throw the book at Michigan. If they do, my rage with this shitty, pathetic excuse for a so-called governing body is it's going to be, I'll be with Michigan fans rioting in the streets because it's just going to be the most pathetic display of power ever in college football. And I'm all about conference realignment because I think it's interesting and spices things up. You don't talk there has to be we both know in the NIL era now and conference realignment, there's shady deals being made left and right. But that's not going to be talked about because that's not big enough for us. And it's pathetic, and that's my stance on it. And that's my stance on the NCAA. They're a clown show.
I'm with you. I'm right there with you. And again, I just hope that Michigan doesn't get screwed over by this, because if they do, there's going to be a ton of outrage. And I don't know what's going to, there could still be more stuff that comes out. But at the end of the day, Chase, this is asinine. This should not be happening.
It's pathetic, and I'm very curious to see what happens with the rest of the story. But yeah, NCAA, fix your crap, dude, because you're awful. And you ruined sports. You ruined college sports, which I think we both can agree is the greatest type of sport. It's just because we're in the South, I get that, but college football is, to me, the peak sport. You don't get anything better. You don't get any storylines better, any drama. It's the best. No other like pro sports cannot touch college sports. But
No.
pro sports is not run by this puppet organization that claims that they are just here for good when all they do is misuse their power. But that was the debate of all debates. It was not actually a debate. It was a very fun rant session, which is good. I'm glad that I've not found a whole lot of people that have my thinking, so I'm very glad that we are both on the same page, and I'm very interested to see what happens moving forward. But let's have some fun after that little screaming match or that little rant session that we just went on. Let's have a little bit of fun. Well, again, I'm a loser, so not really fun. But let's get into Pick'em, our favorite segment where we basically pick games, over under spreads. It's our favorite time of the year. It's the best. And let me get our records going. Here we go. Billy has not seen his record in a couple weeks. I sadly saw mine earlier. Here we go. God, it's awful. Oh, my eyes.
Ooh,
My eyes.
come on, Chase.
My eyes, dude, I was so hot. There was a time where I wasn't even. I was on fire, and all of a sudden it's like, where did he go? He is missing. So there is an APB put out for me in my pick'em slate. Missing persons. Call if you find. Call Billy if you find me because I'm gone. I'm disappeared. I'm lost. Billy's sitting right now at 58, 59, and 1, 3-6 locks of the week. A couple weeks ago, Billy got a lock of the week win with Florida against South Carolina. We both had Tennessee this past weekend. And Billy now knows what it's like to be let down by a team wearing orange and white. So welcome to the club. It comes with pain and misery. Speaking of pain and misery, 52, 63, and 1. I think it's about time to hang the jersey up in the rafters. I gave it my all. We're almost 9 weeks into the season. I gave it my all, and it's been a fun journey. I'm 2-7 locks of the week. I haven't had a lock of the week winning. Dude, I was 2-0 locks of the week. 7 straight L's. And this is bad. Like I'm just waiting for my number 1 overall pick at this point with how bad it's been. So let's jump right into it. Speaking of that team in orange and white, oh boy. Tennessee on the road, going to Kroger Field, Kentucky. 4-point favorites as of right now. Over under set at 51.5. Billy, I'm gonna lead us off here this week because the boys played good last week. The good first half. I loved everything about the first half, and I thought we were gonna watch Tennessee murder Alabama in a 2:30 time slot. And I was like, for once in my life, I'm like, man, this team is actually kind of serious. Like this team's gonna beat the crap out of Alabama. And then the second half started, and being a Tennessee fan, like Tennessee itself. And
Yeah.
those referees, that's the worst. That's come on, dude. Like how in the world were some of those calls A not being called and B being called? Billy, I don't know if you got to watch much of the game. The fair catch call on the kickoff. What?
Yeah, I've heard that uh I've heard that Alabama potentially told the refs before that, hey, look, we're going to kick it high. We're going to sky kick it. Look for a Tennessee player to basically point in the air. And I heard it was the up man, one of the up men that did that. Again, I mean how true that is, I don't know, but I mean I believe it. So yeah, that was I couldn't believe they made that call.
And Bama's a pretty penalized team, and it's been 4 years since Alabama played a football game where they only had one penalty called against them. And wouldn't you know, Tennessee comes into the house, and one penalty called against Alabama. And I'm not gonna sit here and say the referee sold that game. They were awful, but the play calling in the second half for the orange and white was. I'm pretty sure Butch Jones came over from Arkansas State and coached a half at Tennessee again. That's what that team reminded me of, playing not to lose, and we lost. So that's my little rant. But I'm going to go ahead and say Tennessee bounce back. I'm taking Tennessee -4, and I'm going to take the over because I think both these teams are good enough to put up at least 20. And I think Tennessee is going to. I'm actually lying. Tennessee's going to kill Kentucky. So right now the spread's at 4. I'm gonna get it at like 20. Because I think Tennessee absolutely murders Kentucky. So Tennessee -4 over 51.5. Billy, um, what are your thoughts from a non-Tennessee bias fan for Tennessee Kentucky?
I thought about this one for a while, and I've got some numbers. Mark Stoops is 5-5 after an open date, with 3 of those wins coming against Vanderbilt. So, I mean, and I mean, you don't even need to count Vanderbilt basically. So basically, they're 2 wins. But no, I mean, I just think Tennessee's going to bounce back. Kentucky's sort of teetering on flatlining this season. I mean, if they lose their 3rd straight SEC game in blowout fashion, they got blown out at Georgia, they got blown out at Mizzou. I mean, what's going on? What the heck is going on with Kentucky? So they need to find their mojo. They got their doors blown off. I think Tennessee wins it though. I think they find a way. I think it's going to be tight though. I think I'm seeing a 1 possession game. I think what's the line? 3.5. So I'll go Tennessee to win and cover. And I think the over. What's the over under here?
I had it at 51.5 this morning.
Okay. I'll go under. I think, but I mean, both offenses have struggled. I do see a potential where Milton hits some deep balls. Against some bad defenses, you can do that. I'm not saying Kentucky's a bad defense necessarily, but I like Tennessee. Give me Tennessee to win and cover. I think they bounce back.
I don't know off the top of my head what Mark Stoops' record against Tennessee is. I know it's not good. We've kind of owned this series for quite a while, basically since we started this series. What scares me is on the road. Tennessee, both their losses this year are on the road, and that's going to get even scarier in a couple weeks against Missouri, which to me is the scariest opponent left on the Volunteer schedule. But that is that pick for that game. We're both in agreement on the cover. Had a little head-to-head on the over/under. Let's get into the South's largest cocktail party. I think that's the correct term for this game.
I think it's the world's largest outdoor cocktail, maybe.
It is a cocktail party of some sorts that we will figure out the name for. It's played on neutral site. Georgia taking on Florida. I think Billy, it's played in Jacksonville, correct?
Yes.
So a little bit of home turf advantage for Florida, getting the home state advantage. Florida on the neutral site is plus 14.5-point underdogs this weekend, with the over/under set at 47.5. Billy, where is your head leaning for the cocktail party?
I'm gonna go Florida, man. I like Florida this year. Now I don't love them enough to pick them to win, but I like them in this matchup. I think there's 1 or 2 things happen here. Either Georgia wins with just a curb stomping, or Florida strikes some fear in Georgia late in this game. And I think Florida might be overvalued a little bit in this spot, given Graham Mertz's stat line in their win over South Carolina. He threw for over 400 yards again. I mean, he's been good. Who would have thought Graham Mertz would be one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC this year? Georgia's secondary is so much better than South Carolina's, though. I don't think they will let a guy like Ricky Pearsall beat them. However, not having Brock Bowers out there, I think that evens the playing field a little bit. I mean, it did against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was able to kind of hang around there late in that one. So, but all due respect to Florida, though, I think Georgia wins. But give me Florida to cover. So I'll take Florida to cover that.
Do you have a play on the over under of 51.5, or is that something that we
I
are
will
looking to
go.
avoid?
Let's see here. I think I'm going under. Let me make sure though. Yeah, under. I'm going to go under in that one.
I am going to agree. Ooh, I'm sorry, not 51.5, 47.5. My numbers are getting mixed up here, but all the same, I'm going to go over 47.5 for this game. And I think, Billy, you flipped me. I'm not gonna lie. You have listening to your breakdown has flipped me. I was on Georgia minus 14.5, but then I realized Brock Bowers isn't playing. And Georgia has struggled in these spots. Shout out to Vanderbilt. I had them finally covering the spread against Georgia a couple weeks ago. Shout out to the Commodores. But I'm going to take Florida plus 14.5. Home state advantage is going to play a little bit into this. I like the over just because I think these two teams are at least one of them is going to touch 30. I cannot tell you which one yet, but I think one of these two teams touches 30. And if we can get one of those two teams to 30, we will have a very easy over day of the 47.5. But I think this game could be a fun game. It's one of the nastiest rivalries probably in college football. These two teams hate each other. And Florida is not completely dead in the East yet, so they're still maybe trying to fight their way, and they need a lot to happen for them to be considered in that conversation. And it starts kind of this weekend with Georgia. And I think they cover. They're not going to win, but they will cover for sure. But I'm very excited about that game. Speaking of a game that I'm excited about, Oregon on the road at Utah. Utah coming off the big win against USC this past weekend. Utah right now is a 6.5 dog at home, with the over/under also at 47.5. I'm gonna lead off here. I like Oregon here at 6.5. I love Utah, and I know I talked them up earlier, but I think Oregon just has that something about them that I can't really figure it out yet. I don't know if it's Bo Nix. I don't know if it's Dan Lanning's defense. I know they got kind of exposed against Washington, but I like them here in this spot against a backup quarterback, the pig farmer, unless this could be the week that Cam Rising somehow returns from his vacation that it seems that he's been taking this year. But I like Oregon here. And I like the over of 47.5. I think both these teams are going to put up points. But I think in the end, it's Bo time. It's time to Bo leave, Bo jangles, all the Bo jokes you can make. Give me Oregon.
Chase, I think you're playing with fire, man. Not so fast. Betting against Utah is dangerous, especially when Utah's playing at home. They've won 18 straight at home. So I'm not I'm not picking against Utah here. Oregon has more firepower. I think you made a good point about Bo Nix and their offense. But considering this is a must win for both teams, I mean, there's a ton on the line in this game. Oregon can sort of hang around in the playoff mix and try to stay on the path of the Pac-12 title, at least making the championship. I'll take the home team, Utah, getting a touchdown. I mean, they're getting 7-point spread, right? Just cover that, Utah. This is not a preferred play. I would not. This is kind of a danger zone play, but I feel like there's a little bit of value because Utah's at home and they're getting 7, right? If this was 3 or 5, I don't know, but they're getting 7, and so I think that's too many on the road for Oregon. could be proven wrong here. I think it's a close game. I think it's fairly high scoring. What's the over under here, Chase?
It is at, what did I have it at? 47.5, which is not crazily high.
Okay, yeah, I'm going way over actually. I think there's gonna be a lot of points. Utah doesn't like to be in these type of shootouts, but give me the Utes +7 and over.
I did not know that set about 18 at home. But
Yeah.
all good things must come to an end. And my losing streak has to come to an end. And with my losing streak comes the end, hopefully, of Utah's winning streak. But like you said, a lot on the line for this game. They could somebody's getting knocked out of that Pac-12 title race. So it's going to be a fun game. Speaking of fun games, this actually surprisingly is to me one of the most fun games of the weekend because there's so much up in the air. Duke on the road taking on Louisville. Louisville right now is a 4-point favorite. The over/under coming in right now at 46.5. Billy, what's your play for Duke Louisville?
Man, this is a tough one. I mean, my goodness. I think, you look at both these teams, you look at Duke, Riley Leonard is, he's not 100%, right? I don't even know if he's going to be able to play in this game. So obviously, you got to think about that. For Louisville, they've been up and down too. I mean, they beat Notre Dame, but then they turn around and lose to Pitt. A bad Pitt team. So I had no clue where to go here. I think the line is 4. So -4 for Louisville. Duke, Chase, they were leading Florida State in the third quarter, but Riley Leonard re-injured his ankle. And I don't think their backup is very good. And it doesn't look like Leonard is 100%. I mean, he's not, maybe he goes, but he's not going to be 100% even if he does. So give me Louisville here. Give me Louisville to cover -4. Again, this is a brutal game to pick. There's just too much uncertainty surrounding Riley Leonard. Like I said, even if he does start, he's going to be less than 100%. I think Louisville stays perfect at home. They haven't lost at home yet, straight up. So give me Louisville -4 there, and I will take the under in that one.
I will double down with you here because I like both of your picks here, and I'm going to take Louisville -4. I think like you mentioned, Louisville has not lost a game at home yet. If this game was on the road, you might look at Duke a little bit differently, but Louisville's a really good home team, and they're probably one of the best home teams in the ACC this season. And Riley Leonard, that team played really tough against Florida State. I kind of thought they were gonna pull one out, another big one, uh, for Elko this season, but wasn't meant to be. Leonard ankle injury again, and as a kid that's not the most mobile guy, but kind of mobile, that ankle kind of hinders him a lot. And I don't, like you said, I don't know if he's going or I don't know if he's not going to go. If he goes, he's going to be a sitting duck for a lot of pass rushes. If he plays, don't be surprised if you see a lot of blitzes called, a lot of, hidden coverages, a lot of disguises, coming off the edge with a cornerback blitz, trying to make him move around as much as possible, because as a quarterback, that ankle injury, that sucks. So I like Louisville here, -4. And with Riley Leonard not playing, I like the under of 46.5 as well. And I think Duke, as great as the season as they've had, the injury bug has kind of gotten to them a little bit, and it's tough for them. So I like Louisville here in this spot. Next game, we talked about my team. It's time to talk about the good old Vandy boys, the Vanderbilt Commodores, on the road at my little brother's current college, Ole Miss. Aiden has informed me that he will be there. So look out for the curly-headed 6'3" kid walking around in an Ole Miss polo. But no matter what, no matter where he goes, I still like the Vanderbilt Commodores here again. I had them to cover the big spread against Georgia, and they did. I know Billy, I saw you live tweeting that game. I know you were at that game. I was in Tuscaloosa being poisoned. That's why I got sick. That's the conspiracy theory, but I think that's true. I like Vanderbilt here on the road, 24.5. It's another big spread. And I'm a big pause backdoor guy, and I think this is a big backdoor game. I think Vanderbilt backdoors Ole Miss 24.5. I like the over here though. I think Ole Miss's offense is really good. And I think Ole Miss puts up lots of points, but I think Vanderbilt kind of keeps somewhat close. So I'm going Vanderbilt and over here. Billy, give us a little bit of a preview for the Commodores here this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chase. I'm finally gonna bet on Vandy here. Not literally, but I'm gonna take them here. And minus or definitely not minus, plus 24.5 at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is an interesting team. I don't think they are as like lethal as people have been describing them. I like Jackson Dart. I like Judkins. They got some good pieces. I just don't think like Alabama manhandled them. And Dart looked kind of shaky. I know that's Alabama, but even against Auburn last week, I know that's on the road at Jordan Hare, but they haven't really. I don't even know that they've dominated anybody. They struggled for a lot of the game against Georgia Tech earlier this year. So I certainly don't think Vandy wins, but 24.5, that is way too much in this game. I mean, that might be my lock of the week, Chase. And I think I'm going to go ahead and say that. Lock it in, Vandy plus 24.5 at Ole Miss. Lock it in. There is no way on earth they don't cover that. No
What
way.
a lock of the week. I'm here for it. What a lock of the week. What a lock of the week. And what do you like, the over or the under for this week?
What's it set at right now?
I had it at 63.5 this morning.
Ooh, under. Let me go under.
Under. Okay. It's another big over. I think what was Georgia's was up there almost 62. So I'm assuming Vegas is just like, this team is going to hang 100 on Vanderbilt. But, we both don't see it that way. So Vanderbilt plus 24.5 from Billy
Doors by
Derrick.
90.
We love it. Doors by 90. We have a fun episode coming in about a month. Rivalry week is going to be fun.
That's going to be fun.
It's going to be a good time. Speaking of good times and not so good times, let's talk about a not so good game. Mississippi State is somehow 4-3, and they are going on the road to the 3-4 Auburn Tigers. Auburn at home right now, 6.5-point favorites with the over/under set at 43.5. I'm gonna go ahead and make this really quick. These two teams suck. They're bad. They're garbage. Mississippi State plus 6.5. And the under because I think these two teams suck. So under 43.5. But I like Mississippi State on the road. I think Auburn sucks more than Mississippi State does. Auburn can't throw the ball. I like Ashford, and Peyton Thorne is a guy that plays football for sure. That's a way to describe him so far this season. But that offense is something else because it's just once Robbie. I don't know how teams don't know this. If Robbie Ashford's on the field, he's probably running the ball. There's a probably I don't know analytics off the top of my head here, but it's probably a 95% chance that he's running the ball. So stop that, and you probably have a good shot at beating this Auburn football team. Mississippi State, God, just the legend himself, Coach Leach, as we always say, RIP Coach Leach. I like Will Rogers a lot more than I like any Auburn quarterback. And I know a lot of these toss-up games, I like to favor the better quarterback in matchups. And I think Mississippi State has the better quarterback here. And I think they get it done. I don't know if they win, but they cover. That's a big spread.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, what an awful game. I'm gonna go. God, that is a big spread. Who do I trust more, Mike Wright or Peyton Thorne / Robbie Ashford?
Oh, Mike Wright's playing. I didn't even know Mike Wright was playing this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's official, but I don't think Will Rogers is 100%. Now, I could be wrong there, but I just don't think Mike Wright can do it again. And I say do it. Like he didn't even they scored a touchdown and beat Arkansas. Like he didn't, it's not like he did a lot. So give me Auburn. Give me Auburn -6.5. I think they win by a touchdown. This has 20-13, 17-10 written all over it. Maybe even like 13-3, just something crazy. But yeah, give me Auburn. Why not? Hugh Freeze deserves a big win.
Speaking of scores like that, I think we're both on the under, right? 43.5.
Yes,
That's a lot
that's
in
way too
this
much.
garbage of a game. 7-0. Honestly, it's not even off the table. Like that's
No,
not that's not off the table. I don't think this
no,
weekend.
because both teams have really good defenses. Like I think both teams are, we joke about their offenses, but I think both these defenses are top half the SEC. You saw Mississippi State. I know Arkansas is not good offensively, but I mean they still got KJ Jefferson. I don't think Racket Sanders played, but you know, I mean to hold anybody to 3 points, pretty impressive. So and then Auburn. I mean Auburn looked good against Ole Miss, and they look good against Georgia. So yeah, way under. I mean that just the under in this game might be another lock of the week option.
That's a hammer. That's hammer play, hammer time capabilities right there on 43.5. I have since retired from sports gambling. As you can tell from my pick'em record, I retired a couple weeks ago. Uh, until further notice, I'm on probation until I can not become a big loser. Uh, Speaking of not becoming a big loser, Purdue on the road against one of my. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've seen some Matt Rule press conferences lately talking about Michigan. I've seen just press conferences of him in general.
Spicy.
Kind of buying into Matt Rule a little bit. Like they're winning some games now, and I think he prepares his guys for the NFL just because of his, recent coaching experiences. I like the guy. Nebraska at home, 2.5 point favorites, over under 39.5. Billy, where are you leaning in our final game of the Pick'em slate?
Give me Nebraska. Give me Nebraska -2.5. Purdue is awful. They are atrocious. I don't even know who their head coach is. Um,
It
so yeah,
is.
give me Nebraska. I don't really like Jeff Sims, but I like him in this matchup. Um, so yeah, give me Nebraska. I don't really know why I'm taking them, but I am -2.5. I feel like that line should be a little bit bigger. -2.5, and give me the under because it's a Big Ten game.
Yeah, it's a snooze fest over under wise. I'm gonna follow you on both of these picks. Like I said, I like Matt Rule. I've kind of as an outsider kind of buying into the guy. Uh, I think that team is winning ball games recently, and I think they're going to continue to build on that. Especially with the new Big Ten coming together next year. I'm very excited to see what they do. Also, I didn't mention this. Matt Rule made a very fantastic point, and if the NCAA wasn't such a poverty show, he made the comment of every team the headsets, quarterbacks having headsets in their helmet. He said
Yeah,
it's just there's no reason we shouldn't. And you can tell me that, oh well, some of the smaller schools can't afford it. There's no way on this beautiful green earth that the NCAA cannot give teams that equipment. If they're so picky about this crappy sign stealing crap, put headsets in the helmet. Matt Rule said it prepares the kids for the NFL because they're not prepared when they come in there because it's such a different experience. I like Matt Rule. I like Nebraska 2.5. That's close. That's up there in my locks of the week options. 2.5. That's a that's a small spread for this game because, like you said, Purdue is awful. Their head coach was Illinois' D coordinator last year, and their defense is garbage. So Nebraska 2.5. Big Ten game, 39.5 under. So that's going to be fun. If you're at home and there's nothing else to watch, watch Nebraska beat the piss out of Purdue. Speaking of things getting the piss beaten out of them, it's time for my not so favorite time of pick'em. Locks of the week. Billy, you are going Vanderbilt 24.5. Can we confirm that? Can we lock that in? Can the people at home lock that in?
Lock it in right now. Lock it in tight.
24.5. Lock it in like Michigan probably needs to lock Connor Stallions away. That way he can not talk anymore about his sign stealing operations. And you know what? When we started this show, the idea was to cover both of our great teams in this great state of Tennessee. And if Billy Derrick, the great Billy Derrick, is taking Vanderbilt at 24.5, boys, you know what day it is. You know what time it is. Tennessee is going to walk into Kentucky, whatever the crap you want to call that program, and they're going to wipe the floor with Mark Stoops' whatever he calls this team. They need better players. We need more money for better players. Buddy, I don't know if you know this recently. We've beaten Calipari's ass too. Join the club, buddy. You cannot beat us. We beat you, little brother. Not even little brother, little cousin. That's how much we do disrespect you. So get out of here. Whoa, Tennessee -4, lock it in. What just happened? Whoa.
What happened?
I don't know. Tennessee -4, lock it in. My screen's black. Ah, I'm still talking.
I still got you.
Tennessee -4, lock it in. That's so funny, dude. My screen's going crazy. It's because it's too electric. That's why the screen went black. Because it knows Vanderbilt 24.5. Tennessee -4. Freaking lock it in. We'll be back next week to recap week 9 of college football. Stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter for our picks. Love you guys. We'll catch you soon.